All right. Welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to your TFFL webcast. It is Wednesday, November 1st. Welcome to November. Happy Halloween last night. We're going to be looking back at Week 8 TFFL action, looking ahead to Week 9 action. Heading down the stretch now, folks. Here are the headlines we're going to talk about a little bit. We don't need to keep talking about the Boba Fats, but it's worth acknowledging week by week the unbeaten streak continues again. 20 weeks now and counting. We were just talking before the show about whether they can run the table or not. And, I tend to think not, but we'll have that debate maybe in another week or two. NFL trade deadline, fairly active. We'd already, I think, talked a little bit about Carlos Hyde and Amari Cooper, both aliens being traded in the NFL. At the deadline this week, we had Golden Tate, Demaryius Thomas, a couple lesser players, Ty Montgomery. But Tate and Thomas are big names moving and might have a little effect on their TFFL teams. Hey, another TFFL tie in Week 8 action. Aliens now with 2 ties on the season. This has been a season-long trend. We may very well see another. And, yeah, down the stretch we come. We've got great playoff races to talk about. The NOCO West with the Fats, the Lizards, the Aliens, all having very strong seasons. The SoCo West, the Hams and Senators continuing their battle. Injuries cropping up. AJ Green looks like he has a toe injury that may be a little more worrisome than the Fats want. Hank, I'm sorry, Will Fuller done for the season. That happened in Thursday night action last week. Very talented guy, very fragile guy, and yeah, he's done for the K-Wheels. Was having a very good year.
Yeah, he's a Ferrari. He's great on the road, but he's in the shop a lot.
One other headline to get to before panel introductions. We have a trade to announce. Let's get this out of the way early here. Chief, why don't you read off the particulars? You made the last counter.
I will, because I'm staring at the email right now.
Good.
So we have a trade between the Aliens and the Sponge Fishermen, which you probably figured out by now. So the Sponge Fishermen acquire O.J. Howard, a 2019 4th-round pick, originally from the Beavers, and an FA pick. In return, the Aliens get tight end Greg Olson and running back LaShawn McCoy.
Very nice. Wow. 2 pieces.
12th round pick.
12th round pick. Thank you.
There you go.
There is the long time Sponge Fisherman, LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
Finally moving on.
What year was that draft again?
Oh boy.
It was the Beanie Wells, Noshawn Marino, Donald Brown,
Sean Green
that year.
That's like
was that a Hoboken draft?
No, it wasn't that old. It wasn't that long ago.
That's old though.
It may have been a cabin draft.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
It may have been the first Algonquin.
All right, quickly, panel introductions. Chief, skipper of the Sponge Fishermen, my trade partner tonight.
Greetings.
Hank, czar and CEO of the K-Wheels and our IT director.
Good evening. Pretty smooth tonight on the IT.
Yeah, you were ahead of the game. And Berto from Jack's Giant Killers.
Yes. Still working on the moniker.
A little more.
Has the IT department made its way to Terry's to work on that microphone issue? I know he's not on tonight, but that's
no
job for IT.
I have not, but we'll get over there. I'll get my best man on it.
There we go.
And missing tonight, yes, our commissioner and managing director of the Steel City Mongols, Terry Rogers, out for the week, but he'll be back next week, I presume. Michael Giovenco, I think, will be a guest either next week or the week after. He's traveling right now, but he's going to join us soon. Let's plan.
Michael's on his way to fish, by the way, right now, in Vegas. So.
Oh, Vegas! I thought he was going out of the country.
No.
I
think he was in California, and then he was going to Vegas for fish.
Fish shows.
Disappointed I'm not joining him this year out there, but.
Does this show have a name?
The day after Halloween show.
Well, it's the Halloween run in Vegas, but.
All right. Not what I was looking for.
So no.
All right. Well, in honor of Michael Giovenco, tonight's trivia question comes from him. We're going to have to give him an honorary title on the webcast or something. Scoring is way up in 2018. And the question here is really how much is it up? And it's a two-part question.
Sounds hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to spin it, and we're going to score it in a unique way here. I want you to tell me how many times through 8 weeks in 2018, how many times a team has won a game this year scoring less than 60 points. We've had 8 weeks. We've had 6 games a week, so 48 outcomes. How many of those 48 was there a winner scoring less than 60 points?
Do we have a variance here?
Yeah, do we have a historical reference?
And then I've already here's what I've told you already is that scoring is way up this year. I want you to tell me how many times it happened in all of 2017. And here's the twist on the scoring to make this a little easier. Whoever gets closest on each one gets 3 points. Everybody else gets nothing. So this is a real chance to make up some ground.
Hang on a second.
How many times it's happened this year, and how many times last year under 60?
Yeah, and we'll do the math to extrapolate 8 games to 13 to give a final comparison to last year. But I'm telling you, scoring is up this year. How much? All right. While you start to ponder that, write down your answers. Hank, I know you were very early on the standings this week. Again, the IT department in tip-top shape.
Yep.
Tell us where we are heading down the stretch.
Okay, I'm still thinking about the trivia question. This is a tough one. This is tough. All right. Shifting gears to the TFFL standings as it sits through 8 weeks. We have the division leaders now. We are looking at the stretch run of the playoffs, and we have our 4 division leaders. The Boba Fats, 7-0-1, 20 weeks since a loss, basically. The Senators are leading their division and the South at 5-2-1 with their head-to-head tiebreak over the Hams. The Devils, right there, they have a 2-game lead in their division, thanks to the Beavers and the Mongols not being what they are. The Dirt Devils are 5-3. And then the AMPAC, thanks to their tie with the Aliens this week instead of a loss, are now a half game ahead of the K-Wheels in that division, in the Norco East. These guys, they're still in a battle for position. Here we go. We got the Hormel Hams, 5-2-1. They lost the tiebreak with the Sens, but they'll be back because they get to play them. They'll get that sorted out. The Lizards, and I guess I may be wrong on this, and Stick, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I had the Lizards with the wild card edge, but that may not be true. I understand with the Aliens at 4-2-2.
I think in Terry's commissioner report, he had the Aliens who do have. I do have the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Lizards right now. He had the Aliens making the playoffs. That assumes you equate 2 ties with a win, and don't give Rich more value for having 5 wins. I don't know how people translate ties.
Well, we're going to need to figure that out because as it stands right now, that would be the second wild card team. So that is something to keep an eye on there with the battle in the NOCO West. The K-Wheels are a half game back in the division now with the AMPAC. So their path, our path, is through the division title. Wild card is going to be too far gone. The Mongols, they're still in it as well. They've got to get on a winning streak, and they do have a head-to-head with the Devils coming, so they got a chance to get back in their division. These guys are playing another game. The Sponge Fishermen, Beavers, and Giant Killers are running toward the bottom. And we're going to get an exciting game, and this is, I'll mention this in a minute, between the Sponge and the Giant Killers in week 13, which could be for the number 1 overall pick. We will see. The Beavers, however, lost to both of them. So if the Beavers do not lose another game, and they all finish at 2-11, it would be the Beavers who get the number 1 pick. So there's still a little drama to be determined in this entire thing here. So standings for 8 weeks.
going back to aliens lizards things, I gotta believe a tie is worth half win, half loss, and so they both have effective records of 5-3.
Right.
And at the moment, if aliens have that tiebreaker, then I guess the season ended today would be the aliens.
Okay, so then it would be the aliens. However, it's irrelevant because they're going to play again, and so we're gonna see that game coming up.
All right, so yeah, in my division, the NOCO West. But in general, one of these good teams with 5 or more wins right now is not going to make the playoffs. If you include the aliens in that group with 4 wins and 2 ties. I've got 2 losses, all of 2 losses through 8 weeks, and I fear I might end up on the outside looking in here. We missed the playoffs last year at 7-6. It's going to be a tough fight here. The NOCO, my division has 5 combined losses between our 3 teams. It's a strong division. I do get to play the Lizards. I think we'll talk about that game in a second. Yeah, that race for the number 1 overall pick is shaping up tight. The Beavers look like they're in good position now, but the Beavers are a decent team. They were just talking. Bill was just lamenting that he lost this week because he thought he might have a chance to climb back into his division race.
He was lining up some trades in the event he won.
Yeah, so I'm not sure he's gonna get to 2-11 with Aaron Rodgers, maybe with Le'Veon Bell coming back this week. But at the moment, yeah, he's leading that race. All right, let's get into our roundtable chat here. We keep hinting at talking about some key games down the stretch, so let's dive right in with that topic. I had challenged our panel to basically rank the 5 biggest games remaining on the schedule that will settle the TFFL playoff battle. I think Hank's going to tee this up, and we'll all chip in here.
All right. Well, yeah, because what I did is I just looked at it, and I think as we were discussing this before the show, that I think we are going to have a lot of the same games. Now, if I miss any that you guys wrote down, by all means, chime in when we're done here. But I've got 5 games to watch, and I have a qualifier by one of them. But all right, at number 5 in week 10, we're going to get the Pro Bowl with the Hams and the AMPAC for a meaningful game for both of them. If there is a battle for a wild card spot involved, they're both going to need a win. At number 4 in week 12, we're going to get the Aliens and the Lizards, which is what we just talked about, and this is going to decide that division if things keep on track for those 2 teams. So it will be a key game nonetheless.
Wild card spot.
Well, sorry, for a wild card spot. Sorry.
Yeah,
I've got that division for the wild card spot.
Yeah.
Sorry. At number 3, I have got the week 13 matchup between the Killers and the Sponge for what we think will be the battle for the number 1 pick if all things hold court. The Beavers, of course, could get into this mix, but it would take a little bit of shenanigans, as we discussed. Number 2 is going to be the Sens and the Hams facing off head-to-head to solve their division in week 13. That right now looks like it could be the battle for the South. And while both of them look like they might be on track to make the playoffs, it does look like that will be a key game for some cash. And at number 1, I'm putting an anthology together. Cannot be anything but watching the Fats. And it's going to have to be in week 10, the Fats play the Devils. Big game. I think Nick his team's got a chance. In week 11, the Fats play the Aliens. That's a big game, both division, for Aliens division hopes, as well as continuing the streak. And then in week 13, following that up, the Fats play the Lizards, which could, again, will be a key game in the end of that division. But those are three good teams in that division, and like Stick said earlier, one of them is going to miss the playoffs, and those couple of games are going to decide that. So those are my top 5 games of the stretch run here. Discuss.
Did you miss K-Wheels AMPAC?
No, I said the Hams and the AMPAC instead. Now the K-Wheels and the AMPAC is going to be a big game, but I'm worried about the K-Wheels here right now with the half game loss. We're going to see. I mean, it was I still the K-Wheels can still win with that game over the AMPAC, provided that everything else stays equal. The K-Wheels got some tough games. We got the Hams and the Senators coming, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the only thing with the Pro Bowl is that the AMPAC really probably aren't going to be have a wild card shot unless they get hot here, which is of course possible. But I didn't have that one.
Yeah, okay. So maybe the K-Wheels Ampac should take over the number 5 game there, because that indeed could be for our division, depending on how things hold.
That's week 13. Yeah, last week of the season.
Yep. All right. So we'll replace the Bro Bowl. Sorry, Bro Bowl.
So, just to talk about the Lizards Aliens a little bit. The Lizards ascending over the last 4 games. They're averaging 86. I just took 4 games for a bunch of teams here, but they're averaging 86 points. They've scored over 76 the last 4 games. One issue they do have in Week 12 when they play the Aliens is that Kareem Hunt will be on bye, though.
Yeah,
so that's a big hit for the Liz. And then on the Alien side, it's been a little up and down. Wentz is going against the Giants that week, so that's probably good news. But I think the thing that the Aliens, and obviously they just made the trade for McCoy. We'll see how that pans out. But with Lat Murray and Carlos Hyde probably losing touches to Cook and Fournette by then, they're going to lose some value on the running backs. And then, I guess if you put McCoy in over Doug Martin, that's an upgrade there. But again, how big of an upgrade that, remains to be seen. So the Aliens, by the way, are averaging 63 points over the last 4 games. So
I did a little digging into the Lizards as well. And if you go back 6 games, they've won 5 out of their last 6. And yeah, all 5 of those wins are over 76 points. These guys are scoring well right now. Last time we talked about the Lizards, we were worried about Cam Newton's consistency. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think it's like 23, 20, 19, 20 are his scores over the last 4 weeks. He's suddenly very consistent in doing what he needs to do with that great receiving core that they've got. Lizards are a good team. In fact, Lizards Devils week 9, coming up right now, was another big game I highlighted, just because the Devils need to secure another big win here, or else risk giving up the conference title, and again, maybe even letting the Mongols back into that race. And the Lizards got to keep pace with the Fats and the Aliens. One other big game, not affecting the playoff picture, week 13. Sponge Fishermen, Jack's Giant Killers.
Yeah, I had that at number 3. That sets up to be the game for the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's a long season, frankly, since I threw in the towel on 2 out of 3 games I've won, and if I had totally checked out of the first one, I've won that one too, against the Dirt Devils. So it's. I don't think we're both going to be sitting at 1 and 2 wins at that time. I don't.
I don't either.
I think we'll luck ourselves into a win or 2 more.
Strategic tanking, defensible tanking, shed talent, put a guy on IR that gets hurt, hopefully, maybe. Not too hurt, but
IR eligible hurt.
Yes.
Terry coined a couple good terms in the last week: defensible tanking and manufactured outrage.
and then Bill said strategic tanking was another one, which they all work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's have a quick TFFL strategy session. I want to revisit a conversation we had. I think it might have been 4 weeks ago now on the running backs at all costs strategy that we lamented at the time. I don't know that I have a question here, but I just want to point out there's a lot of evidence all of a sudden to support those who did make what seemed like questionable keeper decisions in the name of having greater running back depth. Latavius Murray on the Aliens has been a big difference maker the last 3 weeks for me. 14 points, 16 points, 10 points, double digits, 3 straight weeks during a 2-0-1 stretch for the Aliens. Giant killers have at least turned guys like Alfred Morris and Marshawn Lynch into draft picks as they play for next year. Having veteran running backs who can score points is always going to be worth something for you. And maybe the biggest piece of this is the Beavers. I think we poked at Marlon Mack. They were insistent on keeping 4 running backs, kept Marlon back, didn't do anything for the first 6 weeks of the season. He's got 20 and 22 points the last 2 weeks. If Bill's done for the year, he can look at Mack as he looks like a really really good player out there as a keeper for him for 2019. So again, I don't necessarily have a question, but maybe there's a compromise here that you don't want to be keeping running backs who aren't going to play for you much at the start of the year. That's going to hurt you. You're going to lose games, as has been the case with Bill. But keeping veteran running backs who play and score a few points here and there, that's going to pay off for you. Those guys can start. Those guys can be traded.
Yeah, there's a market. There's a market for some of these guys. I'll just reference my own team for a second here. I would have rather have kept AP. Clearly, that would have been a good key. He would have been a good keeper and good trade bait right now. But also, Galladay would have been a good keeper over Alf, right? So, so it's the marginal running back theory or running back hoarding theory or whatever we're calling it. It has some flaws, but yes, if you hold on to one of these veteran running backs, you most likely can turn them into something. Going into the season, when I traded for Lynch, I gave Kramer a 3rd-round pick for Lynch with the intent that if I started to, go south here, then I was going to trade him, and I got good value. I got a 2nd back, and I traded a 3rd for him. So that was good, but you got to trade those marginal running backs at the right time as well. So. I think just looking at the trade that was made tonight, Chief probably earlier in the season, let's say, or whatever, could have gotten more for McCoy or traded him before the season, right? And he hasn't been doing much, and that offense stinks. So it's all about timing as well. So.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot in terms of this stashing of running backs, and I think it's because it's so important to try and find those core blocks that you can build your team around and where they might come from. And the way the NFL is now is you never know when guys are going to get their chance and how good they really are going to be. And if you have a guy you want to try and take some chances on grabbing someone you think could be good. And with the veterans, it's like they've proven it. They've proven they can score some points, and when they get the chance, they can carry the load. And I think having a number of them is part of the strategy for a lot of teams.
I think we're talking less about trying to find those building blocks and those future studs. I think we're talking more about these mediocre veterans who people are keeping around and starting as their number 3 running back.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all of this is a reminder we have to start 3 running backs every week. And there are tons of injuries out there, tons of timeshares, bye weeks we're all going through now. Latavius Murray and this is exactly why I kept him. I knew I was going to need him. And forgive me, Hank, he's not Raheem Mostert or.
I apologize for Raheem Mostert. I mean,
but there are weak ass tight ends in there as their number. If Latavius Murray is starting in Minnesota as he is, he's a legitimate fantasy starter.
I'll trade you Raheem Mostert for Latavius Murray straight up.
Yeah. Going forward, I don't know.
I mean, this isn't rocket surgery, right? I mean, if a player's a starting running back for an NFL team, he's valuable. So it's like we do to some extent every team every summer, right? Every running back's backup is drafted probably 30 to 32 teams, right? They drafted backups. And yes, 27 of those 30 are going to be useless. But those other 3 are going to be, high scoring or acceptable scoring players due to injuries. Well, it's just what it is. So sure. Now, if Dalvin Cook doesn't get hurt, but let's say, I don't know, Melvin Gordon does, and all of a sudden, Austin Eckler is, oh my God, he's such a great player, and Latavius Murray's a waste of a keeper.
Mm-hmm.
He's no wrong.
Yeah.
But what I do know is you need to have four playable running backs on your team week 1. If you have a stud tight end, you can slip in one of those spots. More power to you. But I'm not sure these running backs are mediocre. Might not be the best word. The line needs the opportunity.
Yep.
And good teams really want to play that stud tight end in the wide receiver slot anyway.
Correct.
You want to get 3 running backs in there.
Yep. All right, well, that's a good segue into the next topic. I want to focus on starting lineups and tough decisions we all have to make. And I'll start with the pointed inquiry. I teased this up a moment ago. Hank, I know, is getting picked on by Michael this week in particular for starting Raheem Mostert, leaving Marvin Jones on the bench. I think Michael might have even called out another lineup move of yours. And forget Michael for a second. I know you've been criticizing yourself for several games this season where you've had plenty of points on your bench. Mm-hmm. Question, and I don't even know if they're bad decisions. You just have a bunch of guys who are not standing out from another, and you pick the wrong ones, and you end up with 3 running backs scoring touchdowns on your bench. But this has been a theme for you.
Yes, it's really comes down to poor coaching is what it is. It's poor coaching on the K-Wheels staff, and we're looking to make changes. I don't know. I read too many of the damned columnists who all say this guy's about to break out and he's going to get this chance. And he's going to have these many carries, and I don't know. And I felt like with the Vikings in their game last week against the Saints that Kyle Rudolph was going to get chances to score, and that didn't pan out. And so starting him was a waste as well. And then that meant Marvin Jones, who was being talked down all week as if he was on his way out of Detroit. I'm done reading freaking the blogs on CBS Sportsline. But yeah, we're gonna go back to some basics this week, and we're gonna try a different approach.
So my broader question to the panel then is there sort of a right way or a wrong way to go about settling some of these lineup decisions? And I'm not talking about Julio Jones, who's always going to be in there. I couldn't help but think back to the league, and I think it was Nick Kroll's character who used to fine-tune his lineup on the shitter right before game time every week.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just talk me through some of this, guy. How much are you looking at the weather? How much are you looking at the matchup? How much are you looking at the fantasy journalists, projections? How much are you looking at the start 'em and sit 'em lists everybody's got? How much are you tinkering and going back and forth throughout the week, or are some of you just waiting until 12:30 and taking it in the shitter?
Little tinker stinker.
Yeah, tinker. There you go. I couldn't remember that.
I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to make these decisions at being a bad team at 1-7 versus being a good team. I'm like, all right, I put DJ Moore in this week. Okay, because if he has a nice game, great. If he doesn't, okay, that's great too. But yeah, when you're a good team, those decisions can be painful and just, oh God, put the wrong guy in, it just haunts you. But there is something to what Phil said too, that paralysis by analysis. You got to go with a couple trusted sources that you have. I think probably, I know I do, have an outside person maybe that I'll run something by, and he runs his league by me, and I'm sure we all have those types of relationships out there where we're gonna run buy a player by some money. So yeah, you collect information from a few sources, but not too many sources, because then you're dead.
I think it doesn't really matter what you do as long as you be consistent about it. do something where you're not kicking yourself afterwards. And if you have your tried and true methods, or you look at your criteria, if you're a big matchup guy, or if you're a guy who plays the same, 6 out of 7 players the same every week, as long as you do the same thing, you're fine. If the guy has a bad week or a guy on the bench has a great week, I think you can live with that. But it's one of these things where you're trying to read the ebb and flow of injury reports or practice time or some obscure matchup issue. This guy is never had a bad game on Monday Night Football, at home kind of thing. I think you can get yourself into trouble. Going back to what Berto started off with, man, it is hard to root against your team. I find myself, I'm rooting for my guys. I get pissed off when they're like not scoring. I'm like, this is exactly what I want to happen. Why am I getting upset with this? Yeah, it's not easy. But no, I don't have any consultants, basically because I don't trust anybody. But I have certain metrics I look at, and that's it. That's I do every week, and I've done for the last 5 or 6 years. So, like I said, if I go down using what I believe is the right method, then I go down. If I start switching it up, and I leave good performances on the bench or pull bad performances in, then you set yourself up to for a week of angst.
All else fails, take it in the shitter.
The tinker stinker.
Yeah, well, I just probably tinkered too much. I put in Ronald Jones, Mostert, and didn't put in Marvin Jones so I could start Kyle Rudolph. Those are all 3 bad decisions, and they all lined up. So, but Devontae Booker has done jack for me, and last week he had 111 yards. And Marvin Jones has his best game of his career, not career, but best game in a long time. Dick. Yeah.
All right, real quick on the NFL trade front. Again, I think the 2 big ones at the deadline were Golden Tate going from the Lions to the Eagles. Golden Tate on the Boba Fats. Golden Tate immediately on a bye this week for the Eagles. I sense that could be an upgrade. I'm sure Rob is kind of happy to have a Eagle on his team. I think the issue with all these guys is presumably there's a few weeks of getting acclimated and earning some trust from the quarterback. But Golden Tate may actually be a little bit upgraded now on the Eagles. Demaryius Thomas on the Slippery Beavers, who at this point look like they're playing for 2019, so that may not be a big issue. But he remains in the Beavers starting lineup now on Houston. Houston's actually playing Denver this week in the NFL. But I think Thomas's days as a stud receiver are over. Clearly the number 2 guy there in Houston behind Hopkins. That's probably a wash to some extent for him because he wasn't going to do much either place.
So I'm gonna tie in Demaryius Thomas to the Texans. Back to the games we were talking about before. So Wheels against Ampac, week 13. The Wheels make a trade for Demaryius Thomas with the Beavers, put him on the Aliens. Deshaun Watson to Demaryius Thomas, week 13, big game, going back to when Peyton Manning was thrown to Demaryius Thomas on the Broncos. The Wheels beat the Ampac to win the division. How do you like that, Phil?
I like it a lot. I'm going to have to talk to Bill immediately. I know that Demaryius Thomas can be had. So we'll see how prophetic you might be.
Yeah, listen, Demaryius Thomas sucks, man.
Yeah,
he's Jonathan Chichu. You remember Jonathan Chichu? He was a middling forward for the San Jose Sharks. They threw him on Joe Thornton's line for a year, and he had 56 goals. 2 years later, he's out of the league. That's Demaryius Thomas. When Peyton Manning sucked, he was a Josh McDaniels draft pick who did nothing. Granted, he had Tim Tebow throwing the ball. Peyton Manning comes to town for 4 years, three really good ones, and he's an all-pro. Peyton Manning leaves. The guy can't catch a cold. He's just fucking terrible. I don't expect that to change with Deshaun Watson. But yeah, Tate's good though. Yeah, so I'm not sure these are altering Landscape altering trades for the TFFL. I just really wanted to bring up Jonathan Chicho.
That was a good rant.
That's a really good pull. I do remember.
I had no idea who that was, Chief.
I couldn't remember what the context was, so I'm glad you made the Joe Thornton comment.
Devin Segatucci too, because he replaced Chicho in that line, but he kicked around as a third liner for another 6 years after he got his 100 points playing next to Thornton.
Nice.
Talking hockey to me is like a foreign language. So,
well, it's interesting you make that point. The guy I always think of is Julius Thomas in Denver.
Yeah.
2 great years with Peyton Manning and was just useless in Jacksonville and Miami.
You know what, though? I was up late. It was a Sunday night game, I think, Broncos game, and I was about my only win this season. And
yep.
Demaryius Thomas could not have been more wide open to score the game-winning touchdown and beat the killer. Or maybe I don't know about the game, actually, but at least in the TFL game. And the ball was, 10 feet over his head. So he was wide open. So I don't know if it's a function of Peyton Manning or the fact that the other quarterbacks besides Peyton Manning who've been there when Demaryius Thomas has been there have been truly awful. Demaryius Thomas is a big body who scores touchdowns. And he had 3, pretty fantastic seasons. It wasn't a one-season fluke thing either.
I'm anxious to see him with Deshaun Watson. I think that might be okay.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders seems to have no problem catching passes from the Brock Osweilers and the Trevor Simeons and
fair enough. That's a fair point.
He's having a great year.
He's a great receiver. Underrated guy in the NFL, probably.
You may or may not remember a Steeler originally. Steelers have a way of getting these third round or later receivers and turn them into great pros. Okay, final topic, somewhat of a lightning round for you, but you can ramble for a minute here. Boba Fett's, we've been talking about them all year long. Let's just, for the moment, presume them to be the title favorite. Finally, acknowledging that. Hank was talking earlier about, can they go undefeated? So let's we've given them their due. Let's set them aside. Name the other team, the next best team that you think is most poised to make a run at the title that would scare you the most in the playoffs.
Wizards.
I'll have to give it to the Senators without looking at the schedule or anything. But Lizards are right up there too. It would be those 2, I think.
Yeah, Lizards is a good knock. The Senators and the Hams are the 2 teams I think are what really watch in the South. As they get it going, we'll see. Yeah, I think those are the 2. I don't think the Devils have got it, and the Beavers, Mongols, and Sponge I think are tapping out. Yeah.
And you know what? We all blinked and we missed the Ampak Dynasty.
We're missing the Ampak. I'm going to take care of them. The K-Wheels are going to beat them week 13 and knock them out of the play.
Bert, I want you to repeat that. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened on the way to the Mount Olympus.
Yeah.
And I'll take a little credit because it was at least 6 weeks ago where I first brought up the Ampak and told you I was no longer scared of that lineup, that these running backs were very fragile and could be out for a while, and traded away Melvin Gordon, injury to Jerick McKinnon. That running back court, unfortunately, has exploded on him this year in a bad way.
He had 4 running backs at one point, and none of them are starting for him this week.
Yeah, in retrospect, Elliott and Gordon were the 2 he should have really built around.
Yeah, Elliott. Yeah, I guess.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So nobody mentioned the Ampak. The team I think I would have answered would be the Hormel Hams, in large part because of what we addressed a couple of weeks ago. Patrick Mahomes at the top of that lineup just should scare anybody. But I'll put an asterisk on that answer and basically say I think the Hams or Senators division winner probably is the team we should all fear. They're going to get the bye, and if they get to that point where they emerge as the division winner, we know they'll be a pretty strong team, having overcome the other team in that division. All right, Terry's not here for a commissioner report, so let me just quickly acknowledge Chief. Thank you for doing the free agent process last week.
You're welcome. Very, very easy with three transactions, I think.
You have a lot of experience doing it, coming off your 4 years as commissioner, but in Terry's absence, thank you. And Chief, I know you wanted to do a quick rant, not even a rant, an appreciation. You've already done your rant, so.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was just something as watching a game last week, and Adam Vinatieri became the NFL's all-time leading scorer. And, it started me thinking back to when I first saw Adam Vinatieri. So this was, I want to say it was 1996. All right. It was, Parcells years with the Patriots. And he had his old Giants favorite, Matt Barr, as the incumbent kicker. And Vinatieri, he was an undrafted guy out of South Dakota, Hank.
University of South Dakota.
Right, USD. And
USD.
Undrafted. He sent kicking tapes to all 32 teams, or probably 28 at the time, to try to get into training camp. And the only team that brought him in was the Patriots as a camp leg. So he was about even with Barr all year, and Parcells, for whatever reason, maybe going with youth, maybe Vinatieri had a stronger leg at that point, kept him over Matt Barr. So week 1 of the season, I'm actually bartending at a joint called the Jockey Club, Route 44 in Rainham, Massachusetts. And the Patriots are playing, doesn't matter. Let's say it's the Dolphins. Vinatieri misses 2 field goals. The first 2 attempts before he misses badly. I mean, so the Patriots getting crushed. They're down by about 20. In the last 5 seconds of the game, Parcells calls a timeout. The Patriots are probably on like the 25-yard line or something like that against the Dolphins prevent. Parcells calls timeout and sends Vinatieri out there to kick. Right? He's obviously kicking for his job. He either makes it or Matt Barr is getting the call tomorrow to come back. So Vinatieri makes it, gets a field goal in a meaningless game. And now 22 years later, this guy is still kicking field goals. And just shows you a little bit what a fine line between success and failure, getting the breaks and not getting the breaks in the NFL. Since Vinatieri's been, when he was with the Patriots, the Patriots have brought in kickers to give him competition every year. One of those guys was Phil Dawson, who's been kicking ever since. One of those guys is Robbie Gould, who's been kicking ever since. The guy called Owen Pochman, who probably kicked 4 years, after that. So, and maybe they have a talent for spotting kickers too. Obviously, Gostkowski since then is now kicking longer than Vinatieri has there. But I just want to give a tip of the hat to Vinatieri. If he happens to see this, well done.
Is he a subscriber?
That nugget of knowledge about the Parcells story, I was not aware of. That's a good story, and
Great story.
Yeah. I mean, Vinatieri is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, is there anybody here who says no, he's not a Hall of Famer?
I can't understand it.
No, he's in.
Kickers are a part of the team.
Yeah.
And they should be represented in the Hall of Fame. And
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
No doubt. I mean, Ray Guy and Morton Anderson are in, right?
Jan Stenerud.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Vinatieri's in.
That kick in the snow is,
it's one of the great stories.
Yeah.
One of the history right there.
But that's a more nuanced discussion.
Okay, let's start to wrap up here. I think we're getting close to our hour. Let me give you the TFFL trivia answer. Again, courtesy of Michael Giovenco.
I think I totally botched this up.
Doesn't matter. You just need to be better than the other guys, and you're going to get 3 points for either one.
2 and 10.
So
3 and 15.
Year through 8 weeks this year, the number of times a team has won scoring less than 60 points through 8 weeks is 6. Who's the closest?
I got 3.
I also have 3.
You guys get 1.5 each.
All right.
Damn it.
Through all of 2017, again, with scoring up this year, there are going to be a lot more games in 2017 where people won by scoring fewer than 60 points. How many?
This one too.
15.
30 is the correct answer.
Wow. So Chief and I split, huh? Chief, how did we come up with the exact same answers on both?
That was unlikely.
So if we extrapolate through, the end of the season, we're probably going to end up with, 11 is my quick math here, 11 games of this sort this year versus 30 last year. So scoring is way up this year. Thank you.
Wow.
30 last year. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay. 30 out of 48 games. The majority.
It's all of 2017.
Oh, sorry. More games.
That's better than 2 a week.
Yep.
I didn't count. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. I was thinking clearly.
All right. So wait. So how did the trivia scoring go?
You and Chief each got 3, and Berto gets none.
All right. All right.
I don't like that at all.
Hank just roots against Berto and everything.
That's part of my job, right? Aren't I supposed to always root against Berta?
Sure. If it makes you feel good, Phil, go for it.
I tell you when I'm rooting for you. I always let you know. I'm rooting for you this week.
Listen, I'm going to try and beat the AMPAC for you.
I need you to beat the AMPAC.
I thought I was playing the impact.
Well, I mean,
you beat the AMPAC then.
I think I'm playing it right now as we speak.
All right, well,
I'm rooting for you too, Chief.
that brings our up to the minute trivia standings, where Chief maintains his lead in big lead. He's got 10 points. Hank has rocketed into second and has 6 points. Terry has 4. Berto has 3. And our guest has 1. I don't remember who the guest was that got it. Thorne, Stick. Stick as the guest. Got it.
We need a multi-parter one of these weeks again.
Yeah, we're gonna need like a quiz, like a 20.
So I just peeked at the score of the NFL game right now. It is 31-3 San Francisco. I didn't realize that. With somebody named Mullins as their starting quarterback.
He's awesome. I saw him make the first throw.
Wow.
My pick in the pigskin pick'em before the game, once I found out that this Mullins guy was quarterbacking to take the Raiders, man, we might have a quarterback controversy in San Francisco next fall.
And in Oakland tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
Good
Doug
God.
Barnes got 3 points for you.
Yeah. So Terry's not here to give us the schedule and game of the week. Does somebody want to do that, or
I just want to tell you that Raheem Mostert is in the end zone and has 67 yards tonight. He has 9 points on my bench.
I see. Torturous.
God, I hate this game. I suck at it.
All right, real quick, let me tee these up, and I think we know what the game of the week is, or I'm going to make it up. Aliens versus Mongols this week. Slippery Beavers versus Boba Fats. Again, the Beavers are not a terrible team, but the record says otherwise. Fats may be on their way to 21 straight.
You are what your record says you are.
K-Wheels versus Senators. Giant Killers versus Hormel Hams. Ampac versus Sponge. And the game of the week that I'm teeing up for you guys to talk about is the Devils and the Lizards. I mentioned this one earlier. This does have some playoff implications for both of these teams.
Yeah. And Terry actually did in his emails pick the game of the week. That's when he chose.
Good.
So we're on the same wavelength there. Lizards 67% favorite. Projected score of 87-71. So that's a big spread.
That's right at their 4-game average of 86.
But yeah, and they're actually projecting 23 for Newton, so they're catching on here.
Mm-hmm.
And Newton against Tampa Bay. So
yeah. Rich's team is playing. I mean, I don't know how he picks his 3 receivers every week. And he hasn't necessarily been doing a good job of it. Had Mike Evans on the bench last week when he exploded, but he's got a strong lineup.
He's got Odell Beckham on a bye, so this week.
There you go.
Yeah, the Lizards are looking good. They look strong.
Wow, George Kittle with 12 points on the Devils bench. That game's not over yet. So yeah, I don't see any reason to go against the Lizards here. They've proven to be the better team this year. They're highly favored for a reason. I think Cousins could have a good game, for the Devils. 15 might be shortchanging him a little bit. James Conner has certainly been playing great, but they could get Baltimore, so that could go. That's a possibility of him getting 3 points there. But the thing with the Lizards, here it is. You cannot shut down this team, right? You're not going to have Newton, Kareem Hunt, and all those receivers, all having a bad day at once. And if they do, Gostkowski will probably, 7 field goals. And I guess that might be the difference between them and the Boba Fett's, right? Boba Fett's could have a bad Rams day and torpedo them. Wizards don't carry that risk. So yeah,
I'll tell you what, the Lizards are. I mean, I agree with what Chief was saying there, but the other thing too is we thought the Lizards were short a running back or two, and certainly Hunt is fantastic, but you know what? Jordan Howard's scoring now, and Kerryon Johnson is picking up steam. So if he really, if Kerryon Johnson is ascending for the rest of the season, man, the Lizards are going to be a tough out.
Well, they don't have much behind them, unfortunately, though.
Now they probably could use the running back.
Go to Alf Morris and Austin Eckler. So I expect him to be active in the trade market.
Berto, give us some insight on the trade you made with the Lizards, Keenum for Roethlisberger. Is that Rich thinking he's going to have a reason to play Roethlisberger, a potential controversy, or he just wants to upgrade his backup spot?
So I was sitting innocently at home. I was not prostituting any players, Chief, at 12:30 on Sunday. Got home from a soccer game.
I was getting texts from you then. Maybe you were prostituting to him. But
well, anyway, I wasn't too rich. So I got home from the soccer game, and I had a text from Rich at 12:30 inquiring about Roethlisberger with a decent offer. It wasn't the fourth that we got down to, but it was a fifth. And, of course, I was looking for a second, and we went back and forth. We ended up on a fourth, and DJ Moore, and I was happy about that. He's talented, and I think he could be the best receiver very quickly in Carolina. So I was happy about that. So we started that at 12:30 and we finished it about 12:50, and the email went out right after that. So it was a quick settlement. But I think his motivation was Roethlisberger against Cleveland. So that was the big factor.
He still does not have 100% confidence in Cam Newton.
No, and that's the other part of it, and so I think those two factors. And no, I was very happy getting a fourth, and DJ Moore looked great on Sunday, so roll the dice with him, sure.
Yeah, he's already the best receiver on your team. I'm not joking.
Well, you could be right.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap it up here, guys. So it's Thursday night. We'll be back next Wednesday on our normal night, Wednesday, November 7th. At that point, we'll be looking ahead to Week 10, believe it or not. Thanksgiving not too far in our future. Some point, nobody tells me these things, but I think daylight savings time must be coming up at some point soon.
Sunday a.m., I believe, 2 a.m. or
this coming weekend.
Yes.
All right, there's your public service announcement, everybody.
Yeah, I thought it was the next one.
So yeah, we're getting into November, getting into to the fall, getting into the stretch run of the TFFL season here. Best of luck, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday. Take care.
Cheers.